Tēnā tātou te whānau, nau mai whakatau tau mai, nau mai hara mai ki tēnā o ngā kaupapa, arā ko maranga ake. So people get ready, and this is the second session of our Maranga Ake People Get Ready series. We will be talking tonight actually to two awesome speakers. So tonight you will hear later on from Tipa Mahuta, and we'll also be joined tonight with Kandi Ngataki. Now tonight's kaupapa is purely on talking about Houora. So Hauora in regards to Māori, what are the issues in regards to health that are affecting our people? And this is part of a wider series and a wider kaupapa and build up to the general elections that are taking place this year on the 14th of October. Just quickly, ko wai tēnei, he uri tēnei noko nei no Waikato, ko Ngāti Mahanga, Ngāti Haurua o ki Hapu. Engari he maha na ngā whakapapa, ko Ngāti Hikairo, Ngāti Hauora, Ngāti Koroki Kahukura, Ngāti Tipa, e tihi o oku whakapapa hononga ki te rā o ngā rohe. Ko Kawena Jones tōku ingoa, engari paitengoa kawe ki au. I am one of two kaimahi here at Taurikura, New Zealand, and I'm just quickly going to bring in Kirsty Barber, my other kaimahi. Kei a koe te wā, Kirsty.
Kia ora te whānau, ko HMS Papanui te waka, ko ngā ruahini o kupai maunga, ko Manawatu te awa, no Papaui a hau, engari, kei whatawhata noho ana, and ko Kirsty Barber te kuingoa.
Awesome. Tēnā koe, Kirsty. Okay, so if we can just go to the first slide. So as I mentioned earlier, so this is a wider series of and build up for the general elections. But as I mentioned earlier, tonight's kaupapa is purely just talking about Hauora. And we will be, tonight's live stream is brought to you live by Taurikura New Zealand, and we also want to acknowledge Tainui Live, who has in partnership helped us to spread this to the critical mass. And so we just really want to take this opportunity also to thank Tainui Live for helping us to reach all of our whānau out there. All right, so next slide. Just while that's coming up, so quickly, if you are joining us for the first time this evening, we have covered a range of different kaupapa. Obviously, last year we ran a number of different series that focused on the local elections, and then evidently we've managed to, that's all kind of passed, and now we have Māori councillors, Māori ward councillors across local government throughout New Zealand. And then this year, we are going to be focusing on these particular kaupapa. So this series we will be looking to explore issues that matter for Māori. We will be talking about talking to political parties and trying to understand their values and also their policies, and really understand the whakapapa where those policies come from. And then, of course, later on in the series, we will have the opportunity to speak directly with some of the candidates who are looking to stand across the Waikato electorate. But yeah, so we'll go to the next slide, please. So anei ngā whakaritinga mō te pōnei. So yep, so we kick-started off at 7. We are hoping to finish at 8, and usually we're pretty bang on time when it comes to timing. And I'm the hard taskmaster, so I'll make sure that we keep on time. So yeah, all right, let's get straight into it. So our first speaker for this evening is Tipa Mahuta. So Tipa Mahuta, obviously we've featured her a number of times on the series, but actually tonight we get the chance to hear from Tipa in her capacity as the chair of Te Aka Whaiora. So look, just briefly, Tipa is from Wāhi Pā Huntly. Tipa has a background in facilitation, research, policy and community development, complemented by over 20 years in iwi governance experience. Tipa is the Deputy Chair on the County's Manukau District Health Board, the Chair of the Taumata Arowai Māori Advisory Group, a councillor on the Waikato Regional Council. She is a co-chair of the Waikato River Authority. She's also a board member with the Te Kotahi Research Centre. And Tipa has also served on a wide range of iwi and community boards, including the Iwi Māori Council at Waikato DHB, Tainui Group Holdings, as well as other roles throughout Waikato. Nō reira, tēnei te tuku mihi atu ki a koe, te maraikura, nau mai, whakatau mai, or shall I say, just welcome back. And as I mentioned earlier, we have had the privilege of having you on a number of different series, but we are super excited to have you this evening in your capacity as the chair of Te Aka Whaiora. Nō reira, tēnei te tuki mihi atu ki a koe, kei a koe.
Nō nei, kia tai te manaakitanga kia tātai katoa, kia koutou i o koenga maha, kia kōrua kaue Kirsty, noku anō te honore nui taimai ki wainganui a koutou mo i nei kōrero. Hoi anō ko wai tēnei, ai kei te mahi ki Maniapoto Waikato i ahu mai ai no ngā kuhi hoki, ko Ngāti Manu, Ngāti Mahuta, Ngāti Rora o Kuherenga. Kia koutou i te rangi nei, nō reira, kia noho marire mai e te whānau. I just want to open by thanking everybody, one for the time and two for the forum to have this kōrero. Kawe, it's important that we have expectations of the future for ourselves, for our whānau and our hapori, and again for our iwi, for our oranga in general. So again, thank you for the welcome.
Kia ora.
Sorry, did you want me to just kick into something, or were we going to have
no, we'll just mihi to Kandi first if we can. Cool. Thank you.
Nice.
Whoops. Right. We need the next slide, please, Sharon. Yay! I just want to tautoko what Kawi says too. We love you, Tipa. You know, you're just a force of nature and you just drop so many gems whenever you kōrero. But I also want to mihi to this wonderful woman, Kandi Ngataki, Ngāti Amaru, Ngāti Tipa, Ngāti Houora, Ngāti Taurikura. Apologies, I've got a blooming 13-year-old diabetic dog who's going crazy in the room at the moment. Kandi's got a huge history within her community. She led the COVID response up there in Te Pua, Waikato. She's on the chair of the Huakina Development Trust, so been very involved in health and social services for many marae around Tuakau and Te Puaha. She's on the iwi Māori Partnership Board, so she's got huge experience. And on top of that, she manages to be a mother of 5 amazing tamariki. She's been on school boards. She's now also one of 5 Māori councillors on the Waikato district, where there's only been one right up till now. So we're looking for great things, and it's just so great that so many have support now in that council space. Yeah, she's all about strengthening community action, and so we're really grateful to have you here, Kandi.
Tēnei te mei kia koutou katoa. Me koe o hoki a Kirsty and Kawe, ko wai ai, he uri ai o Te Puaha Waikato, ko Kandi Ngataki a hau. Grateful to be here, and just really, I have 4 tamariki. Just in case somebody says, you got 5 tamariki. No, I only have 4 tamariki, but I'm very privileged. Yeah, very privileged to be here to speak about Hauora tonight in regards to the experience that both myself and Tipa have over the many, many years and all the involvement we have in the spaces that we sit in. Kia ora.
Awesome. Tēnā koe Kandi, o te rā tēnā koe hoki e Tipa. Cool, so what we're going to do is we'll just quickly skip to the next slide. And so, where's our mic gone? Kirsty?
Are we all good?
Cool. Yeah, we're all good.
Can we just throw it over to the two of you now? Can you just please tell us about your experiences on Hauora Māori? You know, what are the major issues you're noticing in your communities and how your experiences and learnings are shaping you in these roles you have now? Tipa, maybe if we start with you.
Kia ora Kirsty. So I come from Rahui Pōkeka in Huntly, and our health outcomes again, have not been exceptional as a little whānau. We're lucky because in the 80s, we had quite a few early health initiatives moved here from the marae, from people like Tūtata, Timi, Rāmari, and all the rest of our whānau who have been long-term health advocates. In terms of assessing our health need then, has it improved over this time? No, it's changed. And we have different health needs, but it's still evident that we carry, I guess, what many Māori communities carry in terms of heart diabetes, all of those other things at the other end. And health has been a conversation in unwellness, not wellness, for a long time. I think the tide has turned. People are wanting to talk about models of well-being, and really the new things coming forward, and I don't have to point it out to you guys because we're all part of this resurgence, is this belief in mātauranga Māori, kaupapa Māori outcomes and solutions. And so we're reaching deep for what is oranga in our own whānau, and I think that I'm really optimistic about. I saw it last year just with Matariki, how many whānau just returned to some mindfulness around that time and making active choices about something, you know. So again, rather than stay at the issues have not changed, Kirsty. I think some of our solutions have gotten better. And I think people want to look at how we buy or how we pay it forward more, so another generation doesn't have to get to where we are to then gain advantage in health. Because let's face it, we're still chunking at the wrong end of adolescent mental health, you name it. In anything you want to measure, our families and communities have been affected. Myself, I was a young mum, solo for a whole lot of that period. Now it's good, I feel, because you're allowed to talk about the stress of that. But we're coming through it. It was just, toughen up kind of things, the whānau thought, well, we're all here for you and things like that. But now, people can actively talk about their experiences as young parents. Still more support needed there. My daughter's a young mother as well. So, we're almost tracking, but again, able to wrap more support around her experience, and they're able to make different choices, because that's the biggest, I guess, game changer, is what we decide between our own two taringa. It's not going to happen in our family. My own personal commitment, because I am a type 2 diabetic and, come from a long line of type 2 diabetes like other people, but I want to be the hard line under that for my part of the whakapapa. So I have to make the change in my home with my kids, my mokopuna, and I'm sure that everybody in some way, once you get to nanatanga or grandparentanga, you have to start making some of those calls. But yeah, just to bring it all the way home to me, Kirsty, that's what motivates me. I really want my mokopuna to have choices in their oranga future. Yeah. Kandi?
This is a bit off script, but can you also talk about those solutions? I mean, we saw the amazing way that Māori communities, that marae mobilised not only over COVID, but obviously through the, the horrible, the cyclone damage and the impacts. And we've just seen so many amazing initiatives. Actually, even good old Te Puia marae, managing with the homeless and stuff, despite Paula Bennett. But so, can you talk about some of those unique solutions for Māori?
Well, one, in my life, the marae is always a centre of gravity for everything. So it's nice that the profile has lifted and the rest of Aotearoa knows the true benefit. Not only that, our people are resilient. We don't need a survivor series because we do it every day. But how do we get out of survival mode into oranga? And that's probably the next reach, because we know we can respond in crisis. And we know that Aotearoa needs our specific solution. So how can we build that in as a positive? And that's part of what I believe Te Ako Whaiора's role is.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Kandi, can we just ask you the same question? If Sharon can put the questions up again, or the patai up on the screen. So, how can you tell us about your journey and the experiences you've had?
Yeah, so, first and foremost, being involved in Hauora is not only a privilege, but it installs a sense of responsibility and accountability for addressing and supporting the Hauora needs for whānau Māori. As Hauora, in our work in that space at times, and on the Puari, we bring with us the determination to address Māori health and health equity, and how we can achieve the best outcomes for Māori. And Tipa's spoken a lot about that. So our involvement, and I know through experiences in Hauora Māori, it's pivotal to navigating and advocating for our whānau in primary and in the community and within our hapuris. So experiences for us come from a range of spaces recently, just with the Iwi Māori Partnership Board. So once that's up and running, these things should come through. And in regards to our health providers, so being with Huakina for over 20 years now, we originally came from environment, but that's still Hauora as well. So having an involvement in a variety of health spaces ensures that we are immersed in the spaces that our services are for our people. So I like the kōrero Tipa spoke about in regards to our marae, because that's just who we are. We did it in COVID. We did it during the flooding and the cyclone. It's just how we can operate, really. And even when we had COVID, we had a lot of our whānau, they got trained up to be nurses, vaccinators, and they thought we couldn't do that, but it was quite natural for us to manaki our people. And if anything, what our communities did find was it was natural for us to help not only our Māori people but everybody. So yeah, that's some of the kōrero I had to share.
Kia ora. Yeah, and we'll get back to more about your community roles a bit later on. Kia ora to both of you. Kia ora kōrua. Next slide, please, Sharon.
Okay, Pai?
Yeah, I don't think he realises he's on mute.
No, sorry. This is the time when one just speaks himself and then realise why there's silence. Anyway, I guess one thing before I get to some of the pātai, as per the slide, Tipa, I wanted to actually state some facts that most of us would already know right now. So what we do know is that Māori die twice the rate as non-Māori from cardiovascular disease. We know that Māori tamariki have a mortality rate 1.5 times the rate of non-Māori tamariki. Māori are more likely to be diagnosed and die from cancer, and Māori die on average 7 years earlier than non-Māori. And so obviously there was a review that took place, and then subsequently Te Whatuora, Te Aka Whaiora was established. And then a part of the kaupapa with Te Aka Whaiora is merely looking at how do we improve and enrich lives of whānau Māori and to improve healthy futures. So I just wanted to talk a little bit with you about the whakapapa and the vision of Te Aka Whaiora, and actually how it came about, and just really kind of try and bring out more around some of the kaupapa that you guys are looking to focus on and prioritise over the next couple of years.
With kia ora kawe. Look, Tamason does the best summary of how we got to this particular stop on the journey, but I'll just do a quick summary. Essentially, our experience in health has led to all the statistics that you noted, Kawe, and our inherited position in Hauora is basically a very declined population with less than optimum health outcomes for us. So Māori health statistics in Aotearoa, New Zealand at this stage is a shared history. We didn't get here by ourselves. So that's the first thing. No one chose to wake up one day and have inherited all these dispositions to different diseases, let alone social indices that mean that we're living also in poor conditions. So all of these things come together to create, I guess, the health that we experience as whānau Māori. But if I take there's been change agents right through our history, and in our more recent history, well, at least we were all here. A lot of that memory came forward into the Waitangi Tribunal claim, which was known as the Y275 Hauora Māori Inquiry. Now, out of that, our best and most learned people submitted that the situation had to change. And so Te Ako Whaiora was born off the back of that review and a whole lot of other reviews, that if we're going to change the system so it's better for everybody, then Māori health has to be the new narrative, and our well-being in this country has to be a marker of the success of the health system. So hence Te Ako Whaiora was born off all that aspiration and expectation from the Waitangi Tribunal claim. So we thank all of those people and acknowledge their efforts, because without them, this reform wouldn't have happened in this way. So we get to the reform outcomes. We got a piece of legislation, which basically the Paiora Healthy Futures one. Summary of it says it was pretty much the settings I said there. Māori health will set the health aspiration for Aotearoa New Zealand, and then we will all thrive. Because if you bring the bottom up, then everybody's got to be better off. So that's how we get to the legislation. Now, the structure itself, we could have been an agency within a whole lot of other things, but the independence of Te Ako Whaiora is important, because not only did our health decline, but also our trusted systems like health, like Hauora, like hospitals, like agencies and things like that, like Crown Solutions. So we needed a solution that was closer to Māori and to Māori decision makers, hence the Iwi Māori Partnership Boards that Kandi and I will talk more into, so that we could build institutions of trust amongst our own people, because that's important. If you don't trust the people looking after you, that they have your well-being at heart, you'll always feel that discomfort. And we all know that. We've got stories of whānau who think that by the time you're in hospital, that's end-game material, because that's been their experience. So, heoi, back to Te Ako Whaiora and our whakapapa. So on the aspirations of many before us, out of the political will to do something different, and that was a lot of more Māori political will. The inquiry itself said, this is enough, we will not lose another generation to the same tide, or even worse, pay this forward for another 2 generations. So that was a pivotal moment. Everything after that has been built to try and deliver and change that agency for Māori in the system. I must say we have the fortune of having our people right through the system, like Kandi says, from the PA all the way through to pathology, I would say. Not enough in some areas, but that's something that workforce is something that we need to work on. In terms of Te Ako Whaiora and our key role, if we talked about if Paitata is the near future and the Paiora legislation is our healthy future together. If this was a waka journey and we're on a waka at times, we're in the same fleet definitely with Te Whatuora, and on some days we have to share crew so they can get where we need them to get to. But on many other things, Manatū Hauora, and there'll be other agencies, because it's Hauora is on the 7th day. Every other agency leads us into their a home, education, a job. All of those choices as well lead to whether or not we can have great Hauora futures. So this is Te Ako Whaiora's first year kawe coming up from Matariki to Matariki. We have a story to tell, but again, against the backdrop of our people's huge ambition for health, it may feel like a very small moment in time. So I hope that adds to the context of the whakapapa for Te Ako Whaiora. And we were officially came on board, last July. So we'll be putting out our first annual report shortly, but that's getting into the detail of the what. But the how we got here, again, of the dreams and aspirations of our tupuna, all of our whaiaruruhi kaumata before us who have served in health, those experts that are here now with us. And I must say, in my lifetime, they talked about a health authority and a Māori education authority in the Māori Congress days of my youth. And to be sitting here with the opportunity to serve in one is like just timing, really. Yeah. unfortunately.
And exactly like I mean, it was just merely kind of an aspiration for our tupuna and the ones before us to think that we could have such an organisation as Te Aka Whaiora really driving this kaupapa and actually really looking to deliver Māori outcomes, designed by Māori for Māori. Um, so look, really just appreciate that quick brief whakapapa of Te Aka Whaiora. But I want to draw also from some of the previous conversations around what we saw around COVID, and it's actually going to segue just quite nicely into the next slide. But what we saw, the mobilisation of Māori organisations, albeit Raukura Hauora Tainui, Te Koha Health, and the like. I mean, every marae whānau and communities, all of which mobilise themselves to support our whānau, particularly around COVID, and to which we all know now that that continues and has existed for a very long time. And and we've just seen that naturally happen. And so our next slide, we just really want to well, firstly I want to acknowledge Te Koha Health for the many hauora kaupapa that they've rolled out across the many years that they've been established. But we're just quickly going to show a little clip and
Tēnā koutou e te whānau, kei konei au I roto I te whare o te kōhao. Engari e tuku atu tēnei mihi ki a rātou, me te whānau o te ngira hoki. Rihanna Manuel here, and I'm standing in the whare of te kōhao Health. It's a real pleasure to be here, and just a big mihi to all our whānau working on the front line, and of course to all our whānau in the Te Ngira network for the support that they've given. Mai rāno. In Te Aka Whaiora, we've got a lot going on at the moment, and of course day one's been and gone, we've launched. We're now up at our whare Kōtuku house, so if you're up at Te Mānukanuka o Hoturoa, please come up, call in. We're at 4 Austerley Way, and of course we always love having visitors. A lot of work going on in terms of setting up kaimahi now, so you'll see a lot of job descriptions, RFPs and EOIs coming out, so do watch that space. The websites are up and active, all of our social media is in place, so if you've got any feedback for us, please get online and let us know. Engari, I roto I tēnei whakaro, kau e wareware whānau, kia whakakotai ai tātou. Mauri ora.
Yeah, so look, just quickly, once again, just really want to acknowledge all the mahi that a lot of our Māori health organisations have done and continue to do. Obviously now, there's kind of a churn from COVID, albeit though that we're kind of building up now to the winter season. But I think what we've seen, particularly around Cyclone Gabrielle, we've seen a continuation of that mobilisation of our hauora organisations, of our communities, really getting out there and actually delivering to the needs of our people. So so tēnei te tuku mihi atu ki a koutou. Kei a koe Kirsty.
Kia ora. Hopefully at the end we'll also get a chance to talk to both of you about that sort of health promotion aspect, if you like. Tipa, you talked about education, housing, warm, safe, all of those aspects of healthy environments. There's also, of course, our taiao, but also for both of you too, the cultural identity aspect of Hauora and just how important that might be. But Kandi, can we just ask you now, and just to continue almost the kōrero you started before, what will better health in our communities look like? What does strengthening communities from the flax roots look like and entail?
Well, if anything, and I'll just touch on prior to around the Paiora kōrero we had, it's about engaging with Māori to develop and deliver our services and programs that reflect our needs and our aspirations. Those are key for us. Also providing opportunities for Māori to exercise the decision-making authority on matters of importance to Māori, and ensuring Māori and other population groups access services in proportion to their health needs. So there's a lot of things that are happening there in those spaces, and it's quite exciting actually. And Tipa touched on it. The she was part of that when when she was little. She's come through, and now she's a part of this. I'm a part of it as well. So yes, I'm just looking forward to where it will take us.
Can you tell us about some of the success stories you've been involved in? We know, I was watching you closely over COVID, but what else? What are you noticing about 20 years investment in Hauora, for example, and your community?
I suppose really it's based around what we thought we could do, and we actually can do it. I guess it was stigmatized, if that's the right word, around what actually Māori are capable of doing. We can have those high-powered jobs. We can be up here and then also work at the marae level at the same time. It's about ourselves taking off these certain hats. When I go back to my marae, I'm a kaimahi. I'll be served. I'll be served from our people about what my role is when I'm at our marae. I'm nobody different. I'm just there doing the mahi. Mm.
You two were talking to us earlier, though, about your whareoranga, about your pods, about your virtual. Can you talk again about, all of those wonderful things you were talking about?
Absolutely. So quite excited about that for Hauora.
Yeah.
So we're working with Siki, and they are a company of three guys. Was there four guys? No, three guys. And they came in last year with an initiative around virtual health. And people have been talking about it. But last week we had a big team that came to Hauora to have a look at the opportunity on what that'll look like. So we had that we have that happening now. Virtual doctors. There's 8 of them that are online, but we also have one doctor in house. So we're able to see a lot more people come through our doors and are being looked after, not just a number, not just 15 minutes, but also, we're talking to them about what's going on with them and not having to kick them out of the door when the time's up, because actually time's not up. We're here worried about what's happening with you. We've got devices that we're empowering each of our whānau to be a part of, so they can actually look after themselves. So, don't be reliant on, going to see the doctor all the time. Look after your own hauora. We've actually reached out to our whareoranga, which we have 3 under Hauora, and also just of late, we've got some pods as well that we've put on for marae, and that will be in part and parcel of our Hauora strategic plan moving into the future.
Well, can you tell us a bit more about what those devices actually do and how they work with your virtual health?
Yeah, so we have watches. So each of our clients will be kitted out with a watch, and it will read their vitals. And a lot of that information will be streamlined directly to the doctor prior. So there's time saved there in regards to like a nurse triage. It's still a work in progress, but those are some of the things that we're putting out there to our whānau on how actually you might want to look at health now, rather than seeing the same doctor that you've had for 20 years or, which you're comfortable with, and that's okay. But it's just taking another look at what actual health could look like in the future.
Cool. And what do your whareoranga look like? I mean, there'll be people out there who don't know what whareoranga do, but how do your 3 work?
Yeah, so our whareoranga have been around for over 7 to 8 years. Mangatangi, Ngā Haue Whā, and Ōrairo, which we've been supporting. And we've been supporting them to be their own independent selves as well, and that's okay too. So they range half-day services, maybe 1 day with a doctor at times, and then they do their own Māori kaupapa as well, miri, rongoa Māori, and they promote things on their marae in regards to women's hauora, men's hauora. So a lot of it's getting out to our people and actually having them feel comfortable that they can come to our marae for these services where they may traditionally not have been comfortable in going to, a normal doctor service.
So what are some of the outcomes you notice from all these initiatives?
More engagement with our people. They're more inclined to be actually telling us, when are we having the next, mana wahine day, where they can come and get pampered and looked over in regards to their vitals. We have, and Tipa's mentioned it before, a lot of our whānau have heart issues, diabetes. So just really keeping on top of those things. They tell us, we're not, it's not the other way around. So we're listening to our people about what they are needing, what they are wanting.
Cool. And is that I'd imagine, especially if it's happening on a marae and it's that, collective strength of Māori as usual, so that'd be wraparound as well? Do you have social workers or support workers, or do you have those?
Absolutely. Yep. So with Huakina, anyhow, we're a social services arm, iwi social services as well. So it's like a one-stop shop. So Hauora is holistic. And I spoke about it earlier too. It's about our awa too and our whenua. So we're just wrapping that all into one, really. Just trying to find a way to help our people.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, you're doing great job. You're selling yourself short. You're being a kumara. But cool, that's fantastic. And can you just briefly, though, just say, what have you noticed over those 7 years since the whare oranga were established? How do you notice the hauora of your communities improving?
To be honest, we've still got a long way to go. And a lot of this, I think, in regards to Te Aka Whaiora and our iwi Māori partnership boards will aid in that, but it's going to take a long time. It's only been 7 years with our whare oranga on our marae. Last year, we only just got the pods on our marae. So it's something we've always talked about in our marae hui, but it's actually coming to life now. And honestly, I don't believe we'd see the biggest changes for a little time yet.
Cool. Oh, kia ora, Kandi. Thank you. Okay, well, Sharon, should we have our next little video clip?
It will discuss how whānau ora providers and their authentic and natural ability to show aroha, compassion and empathy for whānau.
It's been very necessary actually to bring our people together, because while COVID might be disappearing from view and from sight, we must never forget the people who work so hard to provide support for our whānau. I shudder to think how our whānau would have coped had our whānau ora providers not been in their communities.
Te Aroa have always been very good at our tourism. We manaki.
Ko tēnei kaupapa karoa nei e wawata tia nei o tātou te iwi Māori ko whānau ora. Na kei te mihi atu rā ki te oro ko hangatanga mai o tēnei kaupapa i a tāri ana. Me tōna tirohanga whānui nei mo te oranga o tōna iwi Māori. Tutai.
Our people are magic people, and the work that they conducted over COVID demonstrates the magnificence of this whole movement. Not just the way they operated, but how they operated, and placed themselves at risk in a relentless 2.5-year journey.
What we want to do is we want to strengthen how we do our work, and that's why we've used obviously our own kupu, and we've developed some po, and that was launched here. It really is about how we operate and centre ourselves in a Māori fashion. Well, we have 6 po. That's about using our past. Tūhono is the one that really resonates with me, because it is about reflecting on the past and bringing the knowledge that we have into our practices right now.
Nā reire ko tā tātou noa o wēnei rangi tonu, te titiro whakamua, tō mai wēnei akoranga, hei whakautua ke ngā pātoi wēnei rangi tonu. O tēnei tūmomo huihuinga, he whakatinanatanga o tērā whakāra.
But that's the essence of whānau ora, is we're there first and foremost for our whānau.
Over time, the Māori Health Authority will level up the playing field. At the moment, we get 1.7% of money voted to Māori in health delivered by us. And that's just a disgrace. All Māori providers up and down this country were contracted, 15 to 20% less than a white contractor doing the same job. Well, how do you work that out? The Māori Health Authority will ensure that this is changed because we will get equality of funding.
The beauty about this is that we've got Māori who are actually at the helm, who are making decisions around commissioning and who are making decisions around together with the communities in which they serve, around what is required and needed in their own space. And that, I think, is the key.
Well, the Māori Health Authority, of course, that's just new, but what we're saying is we are going to definitely support them, particularly Hauora. We want it to be successful because we know that there are Māori whānau out there who never had the good health services.
Hygiene needs and everything else we need to support whānau for COVID.
What we're saying now is that we're not just only about health. Whānau Ora is about how our people are living their daily lives and have they got good homes, warm homes, have they got sufficient income coming in, are their health needs being met, and particularly perhaps for some whānau around mental health, that's a big issue. So what we're saying now is we want to advocate for change in all of those areas that matter to our whānau.
Awesome. Yeah, look, that was a really good clip, really just kind of to feature a lot of what happened at that particular wānau, and I note some of the points that some of those speakers had mentioned around the amazing work that all of our Māori providers have done, and actually I guess just the lack of acknowledgement and means of what Māori organisations are doing out in the communities in comparison to our other counterpart medical centres. And so I just really want to acknowledge again all the mahi that they do for us. But look, what I wanted to do was just quickly, a part of this partai is just about understanding and looking and trying to really just probe out of our two speakers this evening and getting an understanding as to what do you know about the landscape for Hauora Māori and what do you understand that to be a means of some of the challenges and certainly some of the things that some of the opportunities that are here now, and then also some of the opportunities that we can see abroad. So maybe if I can just switch over to you, Tipa. I mean, what are you noticing now about the Hauora Māori landscape? Like, what do you notice that's changing now? I mean, evidently now we've introduced te whatuora, te akawhaiora, and we've already seen a number of changes happen with that. And I draw back to your earlier point where this is actually a shared thing, and I note also that we've inherited. Can I say this? A broken kind of machine that really were just trying to, we're putting all of our resources, all of our talents and that together to really try and deliver on the outcomes, particularly for Māori. So, yeah, I guess just what are some of the things you can see that are changing, and certainly what are some of the challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, well, firstly, I just want to add on the back of that video, our mahi to all the ringaringa wawa around the motu, and just our people again putting our resilience in front, mahia te mahi, and our oranga outcomes in front. And that's probably, we're always going to be in that challenged position, kawe, until I guess we're living in a equitable and way here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And the challenge isn't just in Hauora, it's across the board. But in our Hauora challenge specifically, I believe that there is the newness is the growing belief in our own wellness and our system of wellness. So that's going to have pay forward dividends going forward. But right now we're still dealing with a lot of harm-based situations that our families are in, which compound our ability to recover, provide safe spaces to heal, recover, and be in a place of wellness. So that's probably, again, just to Kandi's point, how do we give our whānau more choices and more active choices and better information around how to make their choices? So access and choice has to be door one, I think, and through that, whether you trust your Hauora Māori provider in the community or whichever door you go through, we want every Māori whānau to find a trusted door, and that's our ongoing challenge. And this is the door before you need to go to the doctor. It's the door to say, well, you know, we are living on a low income. How do we feed our family in a healthy way? How do we cover that off so that we don't have to, again, go through all the other doors of unwellness that follow that? So it's a long game, kawe, and probably the biggest challenge is to say to ourselves, let's do this in ways that can provide sustained opportunity. Kandi knows, and she's been around long enough, that the Hauora providers, whether it's Huakina, out at the Puaha whānui where I am, have had to come up with whatever opportunity they could create based on someone purchasing a certain set of widgets out of Wellington. Now, what all this reform is trying to do is bring that decision closer to the people that are going to benefit from the decision. So the iwi Māori partnership boards, localities planning, where your outcomes, you can see them in your community. That's the change, that's the real opportunity through this reform. Everybody else has done it to some degree, or the years leading up to this year. I have colleagues who have lived through four reforms. So, you know, there's a lot of invested wisdom here, as saying the closer we can get the decision to the people who are affected by that decision, these are some of the gains we'll make from the changes, Kawet. I think that's the greatest opportunity, Kandi, the ability for our experts, our whānau in the community, Hauora mai, whānau mai, you know, and all the others, because we have those people across every agency to come together and form a way forward and make sure that's what's being funded in their community. Because at the moment, you don't know, you just see a service come, go, no one tells you, for whatever it is, not necessarily just Hauora, but somebody made the decision elsewhere. Now I'm hoping through Kandi and other members of the iwi Māori partnership boards, that decision's going to be closer to what the community long-term outcomes and aspirations need to be.
And look, Kandi, I just wanted to bring it to you. Now, I'm aware of your role. So you've been the chair of the Huakina Development Trust. And I've certainly experienced or have been a part of your experience as a means of some of the work that you've been doing out in the community. Now, this is not to take away some of the kind of groundwork or on the groundwork that Tipa has been involved in, but of course with her role as the chair of Te Whakaaeora, it does really have kind of like a bird's eye kind of strategic view of Hauora and health in general. But I wanted to kind of talk with you briefly about what your experiences are on the ground in means of some of the work that you've championed and continue to champion out in the community. So what do you deem to be some of the key issues when it comes to, when we talk about health in general, what are the key issues that are pertinent to our whānau Māori?
I guess from a ground level up, it's about whānau voice, making it more visible, actually listening to the people on the ground, at the ground level. We struggled with that a little bit when we were trying to explain how logistically things would work. So having that whānau voice and making that more visible, our support from our iwi, and I'll put a plug out there for Waikato Tainui in regards to coming to the party and advocating for us on many levels and listening to us, probably, and if anything, like you said, around our Māori providers, for them coming to the party as well with ourselves on the ground, we are them anyhow, and at times, I sat at a governance level and then I took my hat off and then I was at the ground working level, and then so every day it was just, no, I'm part of the team today. We're trying to get through this mahi and help our people.
Yeah, awesome. And so when we think about, like what are some of the conversations that you often hear on the ground when it comes to health in general? Now, I know that largely COVID has probably been the consistent conversation, but I mean, what are some of the issues that you're aware of that are prominent among our whānau, particularly in your area?
Probably the disparity in the system. A lot of our whānau have mentioned, that they're not trusting our health system, not just health, but education as well. So it's about building up that trust amongst our people. And I've explained, we've got these pods on our marae, we've got our whare oranga on our marae. We had such a great turnout with our people when it was around vaccination. They were comfortable to come back to our marae. So they've, rather than going to a building where they provided that service, they felt more comfortable and trust in us at the marae, seeing familiar faces, doing the mahi and the way we manaki with our people, that they were happy to come and get their vaccinations. So, yeah, it's just a different approach that we take as Māori for our people. And then not just for Māori though, we had a whole lot of the community coming in as well. So they actually felt safe to and trusted us that we would be able to deliver the service that they were looking for.
And so, I mean, what are your, and Tipa, please feel free to jump in on this one as well. But I mean, how do we enhance and lift the voices of our people? Because understanding and knowing, as we saw throughout COVID, there was all this misinformation that happened, and so it became then so complicated for everyone to navigate. Who do I listen to? And then you had auntie and uncle pretending that, well, acting like they were doctors and thinking they were giving us medical advice, because I know this is how we used to do it, and so and what we saw a lot is, and what we're seeing now more often than ever, is all of this misinformation. And so this issue around what you said earlier, Kandi, trust issues layered with intergenerational trauma, intergenerational mistrust when it comes to any government agencies. I mean, how do we solve that? How do we make it clearer for our whānau, and how do we instill that trust?
I'll give it a go, Kandi, but I think trust is small acts of trust. Trust is earned, easy to lose, hard to keep. So for Te Whaiora, that means doing a few things well, saying what we did well, and being honest about what we haven't covered, because we have to, like you said, we cover a big time span and earn the trust of people who have no reason to trust another agency, even though we set up as a statutory entity away from the Crown. We're still seen as Crown funded, Crown decided, so we'll have to earn that space. So we're going to need the trust and confidence first of the IMPBs, who are luckily people from our communities who have done the hard work there, like Kandi. And with them, they're going to have to keep us accountable so we can earn their trust. And again, elevate our own experts and rongoa Māori, our own clinicians, into forums where they're providing great information for our whānau, rather than and opportunities to discuss all the different concerns they may have. I've seen Dr. Rawiri Jensen, for example, over here at a gang information day about COVID. Now sorry, my dog wants to have a soundbite now. But they had his full time and attention and felt that, he answered all their questions, and that's all they really wanted, someone who would show up to them and ease their concerns. They had nurses there and everything. So people aren't sure, we are not short of experts, but we've got to find forums like yours and other trusted forums like Okaha, where our experts can give the breadth of their opinion, but our whānau know what the choices are looking like, And I think we've got a plan for the, now with the resilience, even talking about weather as well. I know every other community kind of hat that I wear, they're saying, are your community stressed out? I said, no, this is just another layer of resilience. Hey. This is how come we talk generational, because somewhere in our memory we've lived this before, or we know how to respond to this event. So we didn't just inherit trauma kawe, there's a whole lot of mātauranga untapped as it is in our DNA, that I'm sure this is what's going to heal Aotearoa whānui, us being part of the DNA of the system. because we come from that oranga perspective. We want it for everyone, not just ourselves, but we've got to give ourselves priority for a bit of time, and we need the rest of Aotearoa whānui to say yes. We need you to come with us. It's not acceptable to leave anybody behind anymore. Yeah.
And I think also too, just encouraging our services and ourselves to look at things differently, you know, and creating opportunities for our Māori health services to work towards making a difference and an impact for Hauora Māori.
Can I just ask, going back to both of those points in yours earlier, Kandi, hey, so when you talked about people, I'm interested in the building up of confidence and capacity, but even terrible events like COVID and the, you know, you said that people trained as vaccinators, you know, so is that momentum building? And of course that leads to places of trust, doesn't it? But do you notice that whānau are saying, oh, I could do this, I could be part of this because I now feel confident and comfortable and more capacity built that way?
Yeah, well, for us at Huakina, I know we grew a lot of rangatahi. And when I mean rangatahi, over the age of 18, to be experienced in a lot of the roles that came with COVID and the vaccinations. So, you know, it gave them encouragement. Actually, I do want to study something, you know, and actually, I didn't think I could do that using the devices that they said, well, no, only specific people can work those. You know, give it to us. We have a bit of a tutu, and we were away. We were showing the experts how to do things, and they were quite surprised actually on how we learnt that so fast. So yeah.
Ka pai. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, I agree with you, Tipa, that though we've been inheritors of all this trauma and everything bad, we're still here, you know, and we're a resilient people, and we've we've shown time and time again that everything that we've come up against, we've managed to get through with it. And so all of that mātauranga, all the learnings that we've developed over all, all that time, the benefits of going through that is that we can bring that into, I guess, the future. And what pretty much what I'm saying is, I'll throw it at us and we'll take it as it comes. Okay, so we do have some partai, and we're really interested to kind of to get both your take on this. And so this might be just a little bit high level, but anyway, we'll take a punt at it. So, with increasing living costs and knowing that winter's coming, as well as us still really kind of getting over COVID, how are we to prioritise our own health issues when we've got to prioritise the needs of our whānau? Example like food on the table and basic roof over our heads. So, yes, I mean, yeah. What's your response to that? And certainly I've had experiences with some of my own whānau where they've been in that position of from teeth through to just the simple cold that has developed over a period of time, but they've had to prioritize things like rent, and all that kind of employment and everything else that impedes and impacts on all of these layering issues. But yeah, so I mean, how from this is coming from your average Joe with somebody who is going through this at the moment. What might your response be?
This is the life that many of my own whānau members lead, so I'm not speaking out of any kind of hat here. This is just being a whānau member. But like I would say to any of the mums that I'm working with, just of my own whānau, if you don't look after number one, you can't look after number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So again, we have to start being the vessel of our own oranga and represented in our own homes, me included. So all the proactive and Kandi and other health hubs and health responses in all our communities are doing this now. But if you can go for all your winter wellness checks now, then you're being proactive, because it's going to be hard to determine between whether you've got a cold or something worse. So we're going to all be in that space a bit more. Have a COVID plan for your whānau. Go and seek the help now before winter comes. Go and get the help from the providers that Kandi and others can connect you to through this show to put your needs in front of them now, because there are going to be a lot of services and offerings but set up for winter preparedness, but they won't know the need in their community if you're not already on someone's books. That's not a long-term solution, Kawi. That's in the minute, around the minute one. The long-term one is actually line yourself up with a provider that you can find that you have trust and confidence with, so that they can help you form a wider plan. And I think if I hark back to the whānau ora slides that you ran before, their oranga plans, their whānau plans, nothing better, because it gets all your busyness on one page and you can start working with it. And no doubt Huakina, and there's other models through Ngā Miro locally, Wāhi Whānui, and Kohau, who are on the show as well. So I think there's services out there as long as you give it priority, they want to help you as well. Living costs is something that we're all addressing, so I'm hoping that there's going to be different kind of supports around. At least we can see it coming through some of the other services, but Kai is going to be Kai, and the cost of living really issues that we've all got to just get to our decision makers, Kandi and I with our other hats on any other day of the week. But yeah, we're going to have to all advocate for that whānau. Kia koe, Kandi.
Yeah, kia ora, Tipa. Yeah, totally agree there. We're still supporting whānau today with Kai. So it's a holistic approach around it, and especially when you have to prioritise your own health, and we know that as mamas, single mamas, looking after ourselves is very important, because we can't look after ourselves, how can we look after others, right? So just reaching out really, and I know we have a lot of forums and areas where we are doing that for mamas and pipis, with papas, single papas as well. And it's a huge range, it's from got no kai to can't do this. And so if there's anything that we can do is to supply some kai for our whānau, so that we can think about the next thing. Rent is so expensive. Hey, rent is so expensive, and a lot of times, majority of our whānau, a lot of their pūtea goes on rent. So, it's not, like Tipa said, it's not a long-term solution, but for us at Huakina, we do have packages of care that we've been working with whānau through how they can live their lives better, how they can budget. So it's huge in regards to being able to help our whānau, but enable them also to help themselves.
Kia ora. Actually, all of this is reminding me, you talked about Tau Mason, Tipa, and I'm a fan, huge fan from way back. But one of his little whakatauaki is the future is not something we enter, the future is something we create. And I think that's, and listening to you two, it's just been so amazing, because this is the creation of the future, making mokopuna decisions. And what you were saying about Kai too, next session, sorry, just doing a plug for the next session, we're going to talk about housing, models of papakainga. Hopefully have Tilly and Rangita and Kurikuri and Rongo here talking about that. And of course, mara, a lot of models of papakainga involve mara, communal feeding, communal kai. So that segues beautifully in. So thank you. Yeah, so that's just, you all get a pānui, but yeah, that's where we're moving next, Tāne. Over to you, Chloe. Sorry.
Awesome. Yeah. So look, that concludes. We've gone over time just a little bit, but that was to be expected, because obviously both of you are often drop words of gems, and so we don't want to miss out on any of that. But just to go back to the previous slide, so yes, in a fortnight's time, come Tuesday, we will be focusing on the issues of housing, and we will look to be inviting a number of different guests who themselves have gone through some innovative ways of how they've managed to develop whānau water in their own sense, and have encompass their home or their papakainga as part of that. And so we're really excited to bring forth that kaupapa come Tuesday the 18th of April. But look, just quickly from myself, Kirsty, and of course Sharon from Tainui Live, we just really want to take the opportunity to thank you both for joining us this evening. we're massive, both myself and Kirsty are massive fans of the work you both do, not only in your formal roles, albeit that it's in your capacity as chairs and in your case, Te Aka Whaiora, Tipa, but also all the mahi that you do from an iwi development perspective, from a community perspective, and none of that goes unnoticed. And it's because of people like you that gives us the confidence, and certainly rangatahi the confidence, to say, hey, look, if they can do it, I can do it too. And so you're really a role model. You're role modeling, and you're an exemplar of what it means to just, to just get out and do it, make it happen, because you're driven by passion. You're driven by not obligation, but a responsibility and a commitment to really wanting to deliver on the issues that are important for our whānau, for our hapu, and for our iwi. So on behalf of Taurikura and Tonu Live, we'd just like to thank you both for joining us this evening. So that concludes our session 2, series 2 of Maranga Ake. And as we mentioned earlier, this is all steered towards the build-up of the general elections that will look to take place on the 14th of October. We will be focusing on the issues that are important for Māori. And so we will be back here live again, same time from 7 to 8. We will be talking around the kaupapa around housing. So, I rungi tēnā, tēnei te tuku miha te kia koutou. O tira koutou ko mātakitaki a ipurangi te pōnei, māku ai whakakapi tēnā o ngā hui. Nō reira tēnā tātou. Kia tātou katoa, te ata whai o te tātou ariki ai hukaraiti, me te aroa te atua, me te whinataitanga ki te wairua tapu ake, āmene.
Amene.
Āmene tātou, pō Mārie.
Pō Mārie, tēnā